It's Disneyland.
And some wonderful new pancakes have been created in Disneyland's famous
Aunt Jemima kitchen.
Make all three kinds with Aunt Jemima pancake mix and the different flavored dairy drinks from your grocer or milkman. Try the Disneyland sensation, Aunt Jemima Party Pancakes.
My, they're good.
And be sure to visit Disneyland.
In 1875, comedian and minstrel performer Billy Kernsands wrote what would become his most popular song, Old Aunt Jemima. In 1889, Chris L. Rutt and Charles G. Underwood purchased a flour mill. The next year, Rutt attended a minstrel show starring Baker and Farrell, where they sang Old Aunt Jemima, as they performed in cross-dressing blackface. In 1890, the R.T. Davis Milling Company hired Nancy Green, a former slave, to become the first black spokesperson for their Aunt Jemima pancake mix. Green served as a public figure for the company at such events as the World's Columbia Exposition in Chicago, and while it further perpetuated the regressive mammy stereotype, Green was an outspoken advocate for African American rights, even if her trademark slogan was, "Eyes in town, honey." In 1913, the company was renamed Aunt Jemima Mills, and Nancy Green served as the company's spokesperson until her death in 1923. In 1926, Quaker Oats bought the brand, and Nancy Green was not replaced for 10 years following her death. In 1933, Anna Robinson portrayed the character of Aunt Jemima in advertising and public appearances, such as the 1933 World's Fair in Chicago. In 1935, her successor was chosen, Anna Short Harrington. She was discovered while cooking at a fair in upstate New York. She would go on to play the character publicly and in print ads for 14 years. Following her in 1950 was Ethel Ernstine Harper.
The matchless flavor blend of Aunt Jemima pancake mix.
She was chosen to depict the role in its first TV commercials. She also traveled to schools, churches, and other organizations on behalf of Quaker Oats. It was right around that time in 1955 when Quaker Oats sponsored a restaurant at Disneyland. A month after the park opened on New Orleans Street, it premiered 2 new restaurants right next to each other. There was Casa de Fritos, which served Mexican fare, and Aunt Jemima's Pancake House. It served large waffles and pancakes with other breakfast specials like Davy Crockett Delight, Mark Twain Special, and Slewfoot Sue's Favorite. Following this, the Aunt Jemima Company began to expand, opening several restaurants called Aunt Jemima's Kitchen throughout North America. When the restaurant opened, Aunt Jemima was portrayed around Disneyland by Aileen Lewis. A plaque hung in the restaurant where Quaker Oats commended her for serving up such good food and good cheer for so long. Aunt Jemima wasn't just a waitress. She was responsible for greeting guests, posing for photos, and singing throughout the day. She served up a lot of smiles. In the beginning, Disneyland's ad budget was sparse, which made sponsors like Quaker Oats such a commodity, which is why they were allowed to hold Aunt Jemima's Pancake Race at Disneyland. Contestants had to run along a route holding a skillet with a pancake. When they came across a ribbon, they had to flip the pancake from their skillet over and land it back in to move on. The winner won $100 and a photo with Aunt Jemima herself. This race took place from 1957 to 1964. In 1957, Casa de Fritos moved deeper into Frontierland and was replaced by the Silver Banjo Barbecue, which closed in 1961. In 62, Aunt Jemima's Pancake House expanded, taking over the whole area and rebranding as Aunt Jemima's Kitchen. This lasted for 8 years until 1970 Quaker Oats withdrew its sponsorship, and the restaurant was renamed the Magnolia Tree Terrace. This lasted for about a year until it became its current name, the River Bell Terrace. As for Aunt Jemima, in 1960 she became mostly portrayed as a composite. In 1968, her handkerchief was removed and her hair was shown. In 1989, her most recent makeover made her the Aunt Jemima you know today. And while she may be gone from Disneyland, Aunt Jemima continues to live on in our hearts. Sorry, I meant our stomachs.
Aunt Jemima, she was old but very kind and clever. She had an ocean all her own that she would marry never. She said that she would live in peace and none should be her master. She made her living every day in selling of a plaster. Sheepskin, paraffin, beeswax, flaxseed, buttermilk, sweet milk, wheat flour dough, horse glue, fish glue, pine tar, smart wheat. Put 'em in the oven and you bake it sort of slow. Fry it up, tie it up, throw it on, sew it on. Puritan, this thing from a chill to a cough. It'll burn a blister on a petrified fence, but you'll have trouble when you try to pull it off.
Aunt Jemima. Perfect pancakes in 10 shakes.